Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar.
Hello, Mr. Wolfgang.
Hello,
And,
Dr. Taleb.
How are you?
Thank you. I'm
Hello, hello, Dr.
very
Taleb.
happy to see you all, especially, of course, Dr. Taleb Rifai. Taleb,
Yes.
so happy to see you and
How are
everybody
you,
else.
Dr. Taleb? Yes.
So we
Hello,
will.
Fuad, he's my neighbor and my dearest friend.
Thank
And
you,
he
Ashraf.
also
Thank you for making me
translated
join
all
that
his
meeting.
life.
Thank you
Very
very
good.
much.
So,
Yes,
So I'm
and
a
he
pro-
also a good travel guide here in Egypt and very famous.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tamer Ayub, Mr. Tamer Ayub, board
Mr.
member,
Tamer Ayub. Yes, Hala Al-Khatib.
travel agencies. Hi,
هاي يا
Ashraf.
هلا ازيك؟
ازيك يا تامر؟
عاملة ايه؟
الحمد لله يا حبيبي كله تمام.
اهلا وسهلا.
الو اشرف
تامر
طلعت
بيه
ذكري.
ازيك؟ يس،
صباح الخير يا اشرف بيه ازيك؟
صباح الخير، ازي حضرتك؟
عامل ايه؟
هلا ازيك؟
الحمد لله الحمد لله
هلا
يا أشرف،
عرفي
كله
نفسك بقى
تمام.
للدكتور وولفنج وبرضه الاستاذ تامر برضه يعرفوا نفسهم، وطبعا الدكتور طالب رفاعي اسعدنا بوجوده موجود معانا دلوقتي.
سعيدة دكتور طالب. It's been a long time. I would have loved to have met in person. وحشتنا يا دكتور.
انت كمان والله.
تامر عرف نفسك يا تامر.
Hello everyone, my name is Tamer Ayub. I am a board member of the Egyptian Travel Agent Association and I'm the managing director for Travel Express, one of the leading companies working as DMC for Chinese market.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Welcome. Welcome.
I'm Hala
Hi, Tamer.
Al-Khatib.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Allah يخليك. I'm
Hello.
Hala Al-Khatib, the executive director of the Egyptian Tourism Federation, Egyptian Federation for Tourism. And I'm attending on behalf of Mr. El-Wasif, the chairman, who regretfully at the last minute he could not make it.
Yes.
That's we are unhappy to hear that, but we are thankful that you are here to on
Thank you
behalf.
very much. Thank you very much.
I want to introduce one of my colleagues that will join us in a while. He is a professor in the Chinese literature section in Al-Azhar University, and he is advisor on China culture and tourism to the Preservation of Cultural Tourism Association. He will join later in 5 minutes.
Very good.
ده
we
اسمه ايه ده يا تامر؟
we still have people joining us. Happy to say.
Hello, good evening. My name is Amr Al-Qadi. I'm the CEO, Egyptian Tourism Authority.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
اهلا وسهلا.
Hello. أهلا وسهلا. أستاذ أشرف والزملاء.
مساء الخير.
مساء الخيرات.
مساء الخير عمرو بيه.
مساء الخير.
هلا
هلا
الخطيب.
ازيك؟
اهلا بيك.
أهلا يا هلا ازيك؟
مساء
تاني
الخير.
دكتور طالب كمان موجود. تامر بيك ازيك؟
ازيك عامل ايه؟
كله تمام، كله زي الفل الحمد لله.
مساء
أعتقد دكتور طالب كمان موجود.
دكتور طالب موجود، اسعدنا بوجوده.
Good afternoon. It's Mohammed Salama, Head of International Tourism Sector, Egyptian Tourism Authority.
Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Good evening. My name is Nader Al-Biblawi. I'm the chairman of the Egyptian Travel Agent Association.
Pleasure to have you.
نورني.
اهلا يا دكتور نادر.
نادر باشا. ازيك يا نادر؟
اهلا يا بهوات.
انا طلعت ذكري.
طلعت
بيه
صباح الفل.
طلعت ذكري. My name is طلعت ذكري, chairman of Zikri Group, joining the meeting.
Thank you.
وسهلا بيك استاذ طلعت.
This is Amr Azab, the general manager of SkyMax Egypt.
Yes. اهلا يا عمرو.
اهلا يا فندم.
ازيك يا حبيبي؟ انا اشرف الجداوي.
اهلا بيك يا فندم، اهلا بيك يا فندم.
اهلا بيك يا عمرو، ازيك؟ هو حسام مش هيحضر؟
لا انا هحضر مكانه.
حبيبي تانس وتشرف.
الله يخليك يا فندم.
I would say if you agree, maybe we can start with the meeting. And again, also from my side, a warm welcome to all of you. Well, right away, I have to excuse myself. I have to apologize that I don't speak any Arabic, so we will have to bear with me speaking English. But I've already heard that you are all perfect in English. So let me show you. Today, I have the big pleasure to join Ashraf. Actually, it was his idea to do the webinar, and I'm very happy he came up with this idea. And we are doing this together because we are both working together in the publication which we started 2 months ago, which is called China Open Tourism Market Intelligence, and which is published in different languages and in different regional editions. And I was very happy when Ashraf agreed to do a version in Arabic language, and also with some parts of the text talking specifically about the tourism from China to the Arab world. So, and as we all know, China Open Tourism has started again after a long time, and there are many changes, but there's also a lot of opportunities, especially for the countries in the Arab world. And I will be happy to hear the experts we have assembled, and also I will give you a little presentation myself. So now, if I would be able to move this. Yes. So, and we will start by Ashraf saying a few words. So I already doing this now, and then I have the big pleasure to welcome Dr. Taleb Rifai, and I'm proud to say that I think I can say that I'm his friend and he's my friend. We have done a lot of things together, and of course you all know that he has been for 8 years the Secretary General of UNWTO and did a lot of good things in his time. And before, he was the Minister of Tourism of Jordan, which for today's meeting is also, of course, of importance. And so he will share with us some of his insights. And then we have 4 keynotes by very wealthy and important persons, as you can read on the slide. And Ashraf will introduce them one by one. And then after that, I will give a little keynote about the Chinese outbound tourism to the Arab-speaking world. And for this, we have done this in a way that the slides are in English and in Arabic, so that you can also read it in Arabic, where I will speak in German. And then we have the second part then will be a panel discussion. And again, as you can see from this list, so we have really the cream of the experts from the region. So I think Ashraf did a very good job in getting all this together. And before and after the panel discussion, we thought that we will do a Q&A, so where we can also talk, you can ask questions and we can discuss together. And then at the end, we will do a little summary. So that is what we have planned. And let's see how much we can keep the schedule, but I think it will be quite interesting for everybody, hopefully. And so with that, I give over to Ashraf. Maybe you can say a few words of welcome as well.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اهلا وسهلا بيكم في اول ويبنر وندوه الكترونيه متخصصه من خلال الدكتور وولفنج بنعملها هنا في المفروض في المنطقة العربية، والمفروض في مصر والأردن. بنركز على المقصدين السياحيين الهامين جدا في المنطقة العربية. والحقيقة المناسبة إصدارنا زي ما قال الدكتور وولفنج لأول نشرة متخصصة على مستوى العالم بتتكلم عن السياحة الصينية أسبوعيا، فيها جهد مشكور من الدكتور وولفنج. 80% من الداتا هو بيتعب فيها وبيعملها. فيها تحليل ورؤية دائمة أسبوعية وشهرية ونصف سنوية لمستقبل السياحة الصينية بعد ما إعادة الفتح بعد الفترة بتاعة الجائحة. ومش خافي على أحد طبعا، وكلكم أساتذة كبار، ما نقدرش يعني نقول ان طبعا السياحه الصينيه دلوقتي هي بقت نمره واحد على مستوى العالم. تعدت السياحه الامريكيه في 19 من 14، وتعدت ايضا السياحه الالمانيه. وبالتالي الجميع يعني نقدر نقول ان هو حريص عليها، عايز يفتح هذا السوق، او اللي ما فتحش لسه السوق ده يستطيع من خلال متابعته للتحليل بتاع الدكتور وولفنج كل اسبوع يفهم معطيات السوق ده وايجابياته وسلبياته، وازاي الواحد يعني زي ما بيقولوا المصريين ياخد جزء من التورته من هذا السوق المتنوع. سوق متنوع، سوق كبير، سوق غني، معلومات مدهشه. انا كنت اول مره خلال الفتره اللي فاتت دي مع متابعتي الشهرين اللي فاتوا دول ان اعرف ان هناك حوالي 100 مليون من 100 او 120 مليون من عدد السياح، عدد الصينيين اللي هو المليار ونص. في 100 مليون منهم مليونير، وفي تحديدا من 5 ل 7 ملياردير. واعتقد وده اللي يهمنا بالضروره، لان احنا كمصر وكاردن بنتكلم دايما عن الكم وليس بنتكلم عن الكيف وليس الكم. فاعتقد ان هي هتبقى الPDF اللي احنا بنعمله كل اسبوع ده هيبقى نقدر نقول ان هو هيبقى دليل وافي لشركات السياحه وايضا الفنادق اللي عايزين يطرقوا هذا السوق ويشتغلوا فيه بقوه وبضمير يعني. طبعا بحيي بدايه الدكتور الجميل طالب رفاعي اللي اسعدنا بحضوره وتشريفنا النهارده. وبرضه على لساني انا بعتذر لان الاخ سهيل رئيس غرفه السياحه في سهيل هلسا رئيس غرفه السياحه الاردنيه تعذر حضوره النهارده لحدوث حاله وفاه عنده في البيت. فاعتذر لي الراجل بالليل وقال ان هو هيحاول ان حد يشترك من وكلاء الغرفه السياحه الاردنيه. واهلا بالجميع، واهلا بالاستاذ عمرو القاضي، اهلا بالاستاذه هاله، اهلا بالاستاذ تامر، اهلا بكل من شاركنا النهارده في الويبنر المتخصص ده. وانا في مناقشتي مع الدكتور وولفنج قال لي هنسال فيه هنتكلم فيه بتاع. قلت له الحقيقه الناس كلها اللي هيجوا وهيشتركوا في الويبنر هم عايزين يسمعوا منك ايه اهم ما في السوق، هذا السوق، وازاي يغزوه وازاي ينشطوه وازاي يجيبوا منه حركه سياحيه. هو ده المهم. احنا النهارده انت النجم والستار بتاع الندوه دي. ما فيش حد اهم منك في تقديرنا هيتكلم عن هذا يعني. اهلا بيكم مره اخرى.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And so
Dr. Taleb.
With that, so please, Taleb, share with us your insights for the Chinese outbound tourism to the Arab world and to tourism in general.
Thank you so much, Wolfgang. It's always a pleasure to see you as a friend for anything else. Thank you, Wolfgang. أنا هتكلم شوية بالإنجليزي لو سمحتوا، لأن الإنجليزي ممكن يفهمه أكتر Wolfgang. ممكن نفهم عليه كلنا. شكرا جزيلا لوجودكم كلكم معنا. أستاذ عمرو القاضي، أنا كثير مبسوط إني أشوفه كمان مرة، وأستاذ أشرف والأستاذ وولفغانج. All of you are welcome to here today. Thank you so much for being with us. This is a very important topic here to discuss, not just for Egypt, but for the entire Arab world. And I'm representing Jordan now. I live in Jordan, I live in Amman, Jordan. And I know how important the Chinese tourists are to all the Arab world. Now, the 100 million that Sir Ashraf talked about are 100 million travelers, really much more than that. But the idea is that we should know how to treat the Chinese. We should know how to welcome them. We should know how to promote ourselves there. It's very important to do that because China is a rising power in the world, and China is a new rising power. Now, we need to learn a lot from Wolfgang. Wolfgang has been, although he's German, he has been specialized in Chinese affairs for a long period of time. I'm therefore very happy to be here with you today, and I'm going to listen more to Wolfgang today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wolfgang. Shukran, Ashraf.
You're welcome.
Shukran.
Thank you very much, Taleb. That is very kind of you. And I know that you are still very active and you're supporting a lot of good deeds in tourism, and you continue with your work to make the world a better place. And we all only have to switch on the TV news to see how necessary it is to do something in all fields of life. And so thank you for keeping us in the right direction. So with that, I would think, Ashraf, you take over and welcome our keynote speakers. We have, I think, 4 of them. So please go ahead.
أستاذ عمرو العزبي، يا ريت حضرتك
عمرو القاضي، أستاذ عمرو القاضي.
أستاذ عمرو القاضي. ياه عمرو العزبي ده تاريخ.
أنت رجعت 20 سنة كده.
بالظبط.
ده تاريخ.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Professors, thank you so much for being here today. Dr. Taleb, it's always a pleasure to meet you and to get to know a lot from your side as experts in the field. I will not take much of time or few time. I'm here also to second Dr. Taleb's speech. We're here to learn. We're here to listen, and we're here to know more about China and the Chinese, and to exchange ideas about how to attract this massive market, not only for Egypt, but for the entire region, because I think it's time for us as a region to work together, joint promotion, joint collaboration between the marvelous destinations of the region. We need to express ourselves much more than this. So I think we're here all to listen, and I welcome you all, and thank you so much. To you, Ashraf.
Thank you.
دكتور نادر الببلاوي.
Good evening, everybody, and I welcome all of my colleagues. I welcome Professor Wolfgang and the great Dr. Taleb Rifai. We are, as professional in this field, definitely aiming for the Chinese market, as it is an extremely valuable market. And I think the homework, if I would say the homework Dr. Wolfgang did is very useful. On my personal level, I'm not very well aware about the Chinese market. I work somewhere else, but definitely to have a share in this market is the aim of anyone working in this field. That's why I invited colleagues of mine as members of the board of the Travel Agent Association, Mr. Tamer Ayub, who is a real expert and has a considerable existence in the Chinese market, as well as his colleague working with him hand in hand. They will definitely, on the side of the talk and the panel discussion, they will be much more fruitful in the outcome rather than anybody else from my company that are existing on this webinar as well. So we welcome all of you. I thank Mr. Ashraf Gedawi for the very considerable effort he did to have this invitation done. And I wish to proceed with our webinar to get the most out of it. Thank you. Mr. Ashraf, the floor is yours.
Ustaza Hala Al-Khatib.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wolfgang. Thank you very much, Mr. Gedawi, for putting this together and for your interest in inviting the Federation, who is, I would say, the godfather for the private sector in Egypt. I wouldn't have more to say than His Excellency Mr. Rifai said, and Dr. Biblawi and my colleagues. I would have few questions or more like a structure to how we will proceed today, because my understanding is that we are not around today for more information, but rather about the Chinese market, but rather how would we expect the publication to assist the Egyptian tourism to attract, and the Jordanian, of course, and other countries in the region to attract the Chinese tourist. And for me, I would rather go into the questions right away, if you prefer. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for your participation and for your suggestion. So I would say that these two things are going hand in hand. So to discuss what's the best way to be supported in attracting the Chinese tourists. First of all, I think there is a necessity to understand who are these people, and so the first sentence of almost all my lectures and trainings is always the Chinese tourist doesn't exist. So we talk about hundreds of millions of people. So obviously they're all not the same. And the first step, and if you allow me, of course, the majority of time, as you have seen in the schedule, the majority of time is planned to talk to each other and to come up with answers to what you have been saying. So how can we all work together, and how can the private and the public side can work together? But to do that, I'm quite sure from my experience of many years that you need to know really what you are talking about. And there have been many destinations starting to say, we want to attract Chinese tourists, full stop. And they all spent a lot of money and efforts with very little effect, because they did not really understand what kind of Chinese tourists are suitable for what they have to offer. So therefore, I fully agree with you that we will use most of our time for talking to each other. That's also for me, of course, clearly that this is not a professor talks to student situation, but this is colleagues talk to colleagues situation. And I'm very happy about that. And I'm very keen to learn from you as well. But I think if you allow me to say a few words at the beginning to help you to have a clear idea who we are talking about when we talk about the Chinese tourist, I think that it will be helpful.
Please do, of course.
Thank you. Ashraf, back to you.
Yes. معرفش بنرحب طبعا باستاذ معتز صدقي، واستاذ معتز صدقي هو الجنرال مانجر او المدير العام لشركه رافكو. طبعا شركه رافكو غنيه عن التعريف هنا في مصر، هي اكبر شركه بتجيب سياحه لمصر. يعني كنا عايزين نسمع منه انطباعاته عن السوق الصيني، وايه اللي ممكن يساله للدكتور وولفنج عن تحليله، من واقع تحليله للحركه في الفتره اللي جايه.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. Ashraf Gedawi. I see a big smile on Tamer's face since I was not introduced from the beginning, so it's like keeping the whole floor for him entirely. Actually, my name is Mu'taz. I'm the general manager of Trafco Holidays. I work for Trafco since 1990, I guess. So we are, I would say we are one of the pioneers who worked in China market before it was even hard for us to transfer money outside China. We met Tamer actually several times in China. Tamer is a life partner and a friend, and he's a hell of a gentleman and tourism guru. He's quite an expert. Our history goes with China market and still existing, goes way far. We had a few offices there. I think Tamer now took over our offices, I guess, and our employees as well. We are somehow working still, but we don't have an existence in the market, but we do have quite good agents. We might not have the same coverage of Tamer has, but we still have existence there. We are targeting incentives, and we're targeting the high spenders, which is Egypt kind of philosophy and approach to the world, that we need to have more foreign income to the country rather than have cheap kind of quality of clients. Of course, I would like to thank His Excellency Dr. Amr Al-Adi and Dr. Nader Biblawi and for joining and Dr. Hala Al-Khatib also, and the others if I'm forgetting anybody, Mr. Zikri, of course, and other experts in the tourism. The idea is it was always a potential market, very potential market. Usually work with the holidays of the Red Sea and Sinai, and the cheap charter flights and the charter subsidy. So Tamer knows very well that to sell Egypt within a package of together with Greece or Dubai or Turkey, same like the Japanese market, same like most of the Far East, and they come for a combination of destinations, not only one unique destination. And we used to go hand in hand with the other, let's say, other partners in different countries. I think Tamer has already office in Dubai and other countries as well. So we used to sell the whole region actually. China market is a very sensitive market, sensitive quality, sensitive to rumors in neighbor countries. I would say, I mean, the statistics you presented are actually well known to all of us, but to bring people from China, it has so many issues. It has issues to do with the permissions, the kind of passports, a lot of because as you know that it's not only the Ministry of Tourism that has the full authorization of allowing some nationalities to come to Egypt regarding from Africa, from Far East. There is a lot of security restrictions. Of course, now it's getting much better than before. We have more foreign countries to arrive, foreign countries to apply online on the visa, the new visa system, but still we have to work hand in hand with so many authorities, not only the Ministry of Tourism or the Ministry of Promotion, but it is a very potential market. It needs the people who understand the culture rather than treating them as European or Americans. having the know-how and the mindset of the Chinese market is the only reason those people will trust you and come here. For sure, you have to have a Chinese people within your team, same like you do with Japan and other countries. Otherwise, you won't be able to get, because they work in a different mindset, they work with a different platforms. So you have to have people from China working within your team in order to achieve success. And I guess Tamer has more Chinese than the Egyptians in his team, I guess. And he has a lot of budget. I mean, I'll keep the smile on your face for quite some time. So this is all what I can say. I thank you very much for the initiative, Professor, and I do value very much all what you're saying. And I wish you all the best to bring more and more these countries interested in cultural tourism, which we need badly. And we need to revive the cruise companies once again. And we have the 300 and 400 cruise ships on the Nile. If this will not contradict with the philosophy and the vision of the Egyptian government. And I guess that I have to enough. And thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf. And ما تنسانيش تاني بقى في المقدمة، مش تامر يبقى على طول في الأول.
اتفضل. اعتقد ان يعني دلوقتي فعلا احنا محتاجين نسمع من تامر زي ما الاستاذ معتز قال المشاكل، وبخاصه مشاكل مش ان هي مشاكل يعني ايه، مساله الطيران ما بين مصر والاردن وبين الصين. هل الدنيا متيسره؟ هل الدنيا كويسه؟ هل في عقبات ولا مفيش عقبات؟ محتاجين ايه في الفتره اللي جايه من الشركات الوطنيه سواء في مصر او في الاردن للطيران والشركات الخاصه، وبخاصه ان معانا كمان الاستاذ طلعت ذكري ممكن يساعدنا في القصه دي. ايضا ما ننساش ان بالنسبه لقصه الفيزا، مش الفيزا اللي اتكلم عنها الدكتور معتز، لازم دي يرد عليها الرسميين وهو الدكتور عمرو القاضي. فيعني نبتدي بس الكلام مع تامر بيه. اتفضل يا فندم. علشان بعد كده يعني بعد ما نخلص مناقشاتنا يبتدي هو يعرض بقى، الدكتور وولفنج يعرض اللي هو جاي يقوله النهارده وايه اللي احنا هنساله فيه بعد كده. اتفضل يا استاذ تامر.
Okay. So I think well, to all of you, thank you very much. And so I think we heard already from Mr. Sefki from Trafco a lot of very true words, and I think that is already a very good entry into what we are discussing, and based on experience. And of course, a lot of these things are still true. Some things are changing in the post-pandemic times, and so maybe if you allow me, I will start my little presentation. So I hope you can see that. And yeah, so okay, so yeah, first of all, very briefly to tell you who is talking to you. So I'm the CEO of COTMI, which is the China Outbound Tourism Research Institute, which was started in 2004. And our headquarters is in Hamburg, so I'm here in Hamburg now. But of course, we used to have, before the pandemic, we used to have an office in Beijing. At the moment, we just have an office in Hong Kong, but I hope that later in this year, we will restart also an office in China now that it has become available again. And so we are not doing anything else. We are concentrating on Chinese people traveling outside of China. And basically, in a nutshell, our mission has been to help people outside of China to make Chinese travelers happy and to earn money in the process. And I think, well, you're all aware of the work Al-Masada Arabian Travel Tourism News Portal and Ashraf is doing. So, and I think he was also a pioneer in this field. And so we share this that few people have been so crazy to start such things. And so that's why we're here together. So for me, I started to study sinology in Berlin. So I grew up in West Berlin, and I visited China the first time in 1978, 45 years ago. And of course, the world has changed and China has changed a lot. And I used to be, for more than 10 years, I used to be a tour operator myself, first bringing German tourists, leisure tourists to China. And after 1989, so then from 1991, for almost 10 years, I worked together with two Chinese colleagues, bringing Chinese business delegations, mostly from China to Europe. And then I've been almost 20 years, a professor for international tourism management in Germany, but also with guest professorships in China, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. And I'm a proud fellow of the Royal Geographical Society, where our boss is King Charles III. And I'm also a research fellow of the Japanese Society for the Promotion of Science and a couple of other organizations in China, especially the World Tourism City Federation, which of course is also important for the topic we have today. I've been publishing a couple of books. So in 2006, my book called China's Outbound Tourism was about the first monograph published about this topic in English. And at the moment, I'm preparing together with a colleague a new book, again with Routledge, The Return of Chinese Outbound Tourism, which is supposed to come out by the end of the year. So Ashraf, do you want to present yourself based on this?
I think يعني متهيألي الناس كلها عارفة يعني أشرف الجداوي العبد لله. الناس عارفة مين أشرف الجداوي. أنا راجل صحفي غلبان ماسك ملف السياحة من 33 سنة، متخصص وأحب شديد التخصص. عندي أول بوابة على مستوى المنطقة العربية متخصصة، بوابتي اسمها المسلة دوت ترافل كمان لمزيد من التخصص. يعني معلش احنا بنفتخر بهذا. يعني انا بقالي طبعا النهارده بقالي 17 سنه دوت ترافل. ما فيش اكتر من كده. صحفي وبحب الصحافه وعامل بوابه السياحه العربيه دي، ويمكن من الناس اللي بقدرهم في حياتي المهنيه والصحفيه الدكتور طالب رفاعي. من اول لحظه ولما اتقابلنا في اكتر من مؤتمر اثنى على جهدنا وعملنا في المنطقه العربيه، لان احنا تقريبا من 2006 بدون غرور، قبل ما مجلات وجرايد كتير موجوده دلوقتي في السوق كانت اونلاين او يعرفوا الاونلاين. بس يعني ما اعتقدش it's more enough دكتور Wolfgang about me.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. And here you can see the cover pages of one of the recent issues of the magazine we have. I told you we have started 2 months ago, China Outbound Tourism Market Intelligence. On the left-hand side, you can see the version. Ashraf is the editor-in-chief of an Arab, and on the right-hand side, you see what we call the global edition. And there's also a German, Italian, and a Spanish edition as well, where we every week have some news, and then I write every week 2 pages of a ongoing consulting stream, because it became clear that when China opened up after 3 years, and we started to reconnect to our former colleagues, that of course a lot of people who had knowledge about the Chinese outbound market after the 3 years of nothing happening had been given other responsibilities, or the companies went bankrupt, or they looked for some other job. So clearly at the moment, the knowledge about the Chinese outbound market is in the world of tourism is less than it was in 2019, because a lot of the people who had experiences and where old China hands are no longer working in this field. So that was, and at the same time, China and China outbound tourism has changed a lot. So that's why we said, okay, let's start this magazine and to make this into the central source of information. And this is not just news you can find online somewhere, but this is really analysis and consulting and hopefully digging deeper than what you read in normally in social media or in the newspapers. So I will keep in mind that we need more time to talk to each other and try to be brief. So just quickly going through how was China tourism before and during, and especially, of course, how was China tourism after the pandemic. So it's always good to remember that all this is a rather new development. So it was only 1997 that the Chinese government acknowledged that something like private outbound tourism to outside China exists. And so China, so in 2004, when I started COTMI, the institute, people were laughing at me and saying, how Chinese outbound tourism, Chinese people are poor, they will never be important source market. But in 2012 already, it was the biggest source market in the world. And what is important for us, of course, is that in 2016, when we had about 137 million border crossings from mainland China, it was the first time that more than half of them did not go just to Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan, what we call Greater China, but actually went beyond that. So we're real international tourism. And by 2019, Chinese outbound tourism were, in terms of trips and in terms of spending, the amounts were double the amounts of the number 2 and number 3, USA and Germany, combined. So China was by far the biggest market. And of course, by that time, many countries had come to the point that they offered for Chinese people visa-free entry or e-visa or visa on arrival or multiple entry visa. So it became rather simple for Chinese. Also, the Chinese government gave Chinese citizens a 10-year, a 5-year or 10-year passport. So this hurdle of visa became much less important. Accordingly, the numbers were growing, and you can see again here. So the orange part, this is the rest of the world. The blue part is Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and you can clearly see that from 2016, especially, the growth is the orange part is growing, not the blue part so much anymore. So that was when really China. So the last 5 years of the 2010 years, that is when China really became for the world a very, very important source market. So, and that also is reflected, of course, Hong Kong and Macau were always number 1, number 2 source destinations. But then you could see that the South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia, all Asian destinations, obviously the majority travels not long distance and stays in the region. But then you had also a couple of other destinations in Europe, United States, of course, and also Australia. There was no Arab destination among the top 15. So that is the numbers were smaller. Of course, Indonesia is a Muslim country, but that was about the only exception. So, but it's not an Arab country. So Egypt was among the first destinations we saw growing Chinese outbound tourism numbers in the first decade. So I remember in 2003, 2004, for destinations which were not big business partners, which were not Western Europe or America, Egypt was one of the first places Chinese tourists wanted to go to, because there is, and we will talk about this, and of course you know that there's a high level of respect in China for the ancient civilization and the heritage of Egypt, much more than to other younger cultures. But at that time, I remember we started, one of our first research projects was about tourism to Egypt, and you could see that unfortunately the Egyptian tourism industry at that time was not prepared for that, and Chinese tourists went home and were not really that satisfied with what they got as service. They were happy to see the sights, but not so happy that there was no adaptation to what they wanted. So, and of course, as we all aware of, unfortunately, security concerns have hindered tourism development in the last 20 years in the region, with the exception mostly of the UAE, because from the development as a hub for air transport, there was a lot of transit traffic. So for Egypt, before the pandemic, China was the fourth biggest market, and the official number is 500,000. I'm sure you know better than me how precise this number is. I have a little doubt, but maybe you know better than me. For UAE, it was the fifth biggest source market, and we had about 1 million arrivals, which is a realistic number in 2019. But most of them were rather a stopover visit, people staying there for a short period of time. And of course, Saudi Arabia recently joined the game, and so they had, when they started right away, 100,000 Chinese tourists coming to Saudi Arabia. So what happened already before the pandemic is that we saw changes in the demand and expectation and behavior. So for instance, in the 1990s, when I was a tour operator, all my customers were the first time in their life outside of China, and they thought maybe it's the only time in their life they can be outside of China. They had very little information about the countries they were visiting. They had very little information or ideas how to behave as an international tourist. So everything was alien and new to them. So of course, 2019, we have a completely different picture. So you had already many travelers who have been traveling for 10 years or more on leisure, on business. So they knew how to travel, and you had a segmentation of the market based on this travel experience. So you would still have, of course, first-time travelers who would rather travel in package tours with a tour guide and a fixed schedule. But already in 2019, you had a lot of individual travelers or small groups or self-organized groups, so FITs. So that already there were very different kinds of Chinese travelers, and so well, we will come back to that. And already we had a growing interest in special interest trips, so that people said, okay, I have a hobby that might be golf, that might be history, that might be food, and I want to follow my special interest. So and also we saw who is traveling change. So in the beginning, we had mostly middle-aged people, let's say between 28 and 45 in these groups, or maybe up to 50. But we saw already before the pandemic, you had more kids, more young people. So the first generation of kids who are already traveling with their parents when they're kids, and not only started travel when they're already teenagers or adults. And we had more old travelers. So therefore, the segments of education for the young and health for the elderly were growing very, very strongly. And also we saw already before the pandemic that more travelers from second and third and lower tier cities were joining. So it was not only Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen people. And the last point, very important, that you had already then and now even more technical gadgets, so that the language barrier has practically disappeared. So, and this is a very important part, that now you can talk into your smartphone in Chinese and it will speak Arab. You can put some app over the menu in the restaurant, and you have a Chinese translation of the menu automatically. You can point it to a signage, and it will say museum to 300 meters to the left in Chinese. So this one reason why Chinese people were traveling with a group was that, especially older people, because they couldn't speak the language, they only could speak Chinese. This is now much less a problem, because almost everybody is able to use these machines, either as an app in the smartphone or as a special machine, and that is something which is really changing the way tourism is running a lot. However, with all these nice increases in arrivals and overnights for most places, if we saw that the market share of the total market for most places actually decreased, because Chinese were traveling to more and more places, and so the first winners, France, Italy, Germany, Australia, so they were losing total global market share. And also we saw the problem in many places that the concentration on arrival numbers, without looking at the question of how long do people stay and how much do you earn and how satisfied are people, led in many places to the situation that you had an increase in arrival numbers, but that at the end of the day, not much money was left in the pockets of the tourism industry. And also the Chinese tourists went home and said, it was okay, but it was not spectacular, not something really I was expecting. And that was something where in many places an opportunity was missed. So because Chinese tourists come to many destinations with not much fixed ideas what to do. Of course, if they go to Egypt, they want to see the pyramids for sure. But what else you can do? They are more flexible than European visitors, for instance, or American visitors, and they will be more easily going to other seasons of the year than Western tourists. But for that, you have to offer them different services and different products than you offer to Western tourists. And that did not happen, and as a result, the Chinese tourists and the Chinese tour operators offered in China what they were offered by the host organization. So the Chinese became more and more, well, they did not become like Western tourists, but they were doing the same schedules, the same itineraries, even so they would have been happier with something else. So very quickly, during the pandemic, as we all know, at the end of January 2020, the Chinese government stopped group travel from China. Some self-organized travelers could still travel, but at the end of February, the whole world closed down. And you can see from these numbers, so there were still about 8 million travelers per year in 21 and 22, but all this was basically 80%, 90% was people traveling to Macau, because Macau was the only place where Chinese could go without having to be in quarantine on arrival and without having to go in quarantine on returning back to China. So some people have asked me, so how could you have still 9 million or so travels in 2001 when the border was completely closed? The answer is that was Macau and not much else. What happened and what is important to understand is that during the pandemic, domestic tourism started to develop very strongly. I mean, the rich people had to stay in China and they had to travel in China. Also, people were more interested in outdoor activities, going away from the crowds. So staycation became popular, self-drive, caravanning, camping, glamping, also going to smaller places where not so many people. What also increased was family trips, because in this extreme situation of lockdowns and so on, the people also in China realized the value of family bonds, so that it is after all good to have solidarity within your family. Whereas maybe before, the young people said, I don't know what to talk to my parents about. They don't know what internet and stuff. So they don't know what TikTok is, so what to talk to them. So that is something really we could see that that's changed. And also, of course, the offers in China became more sophisticated. There was a lot of investment done. So we can say that before the pandemic, if you had enough money, if you were still traveling domestically, you were either not really rich, or you were you didn't dare, and people would laugh at you, say, "I don't dare to travel outbound." So that was not anything you could brag with. Whereas now it has become patriotic to stay in China, and also there's more on offer than there was before. So that it's also from the government side that it's a politically correct behavior to stay in China. Still, many people, of course, want to travel abroad, and that is not only for leisure, it's also for business, for education, for health, for visiting your friends and relatives. So, but clearly, so when we talk today about our competitors, it's not only other international destinations, it is also domestic. So what happened this year? So I'm proud to say that last summer we forecasted and published this, that at the beginning of 2023 the borders will open, and exactly that happened on December 26, 2022, when the government declared that the borders will reopen. And this process has been much faster than most people had predicted. There were lots of Cassandra saying it will be 2025 before anything happens, and so on. So by March, basically, China started to issue passports again after 2 years pause in January 2023, and from the 15th of March, everybody could travel inside and outside of China again. So what happened was that the development was slower than people had thought, because many people needed the new passport. And we have still the problem that there are very long delays in issuing a visa due to the lack of personnel in China working for visa applications. So you are in Egypt and Jordan, you are in a positive situation that you don't have so much waiting time. So for Germany, for instance, if you want as a Chinese to travel to Germany for this year, you will not get a appointment for your application being worked on. Taleb, you raised your hand, please.
Sorry that I have to leave soon, Wolfgang, because I have some visitors here in Jordan. Okay, I want to say something here. The Chinese visitor is not different from any visitor in the world. The Chinese is not supposed to be treated differently. The visitors to any place have to change according to the culture of the place. So does the Chinese, I think. I think that to treat Chinese in a special way is not the right way to do it. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wolfgang.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. No, of course, you're totally right. That is something where we have to. That's why we have to look so deeply into this, because there is what is not changing and what has changed. So maybe So just some figures. So these are the numbers we have been collecting, and to see in the first half of 2023, which countries have been successful based on how many percent of the 2019 level of arrivals they managed to achieve. And you can see Serbia, for instance, is one of the countries in Europe where you can travel visa-free. But of course, these are all rather small countries. So if you look for the big ones like Hong Kong and Macau, you can see that they are back to about 1/3 of the level they had in 2019 for the first half of 2023. But you can see that other destinations are much lower, so most are below 30%. Even Thailand, even so they did a lot of activities to get Chinese tourists back, have only a quarter of the level they had before. Singapore has only a fifth, and Switzerland. So I recently did a workshop for some Swiss companies about the Chinese market. They only have a sixth of the level they had before. And at the bottom you can see Japan is only at 10%, at 1/10 of what they had before. So there's still a lot to do, and there's still a lot of recovering to be done. Interestingly, also is that you can see the change, and this is for first half 2023 compared to 2029. How people are traveling, and you can see that the percentage of group travel went down from 26% to 11%. So this trend that this package tours have less and less importance is really clearly gaining, and so the individual travels is from 27 to, I hope you can read this, 38%. So this is where the real growth has been in. So of course, people ask me many times, do the Chinese still have money to travel? Because we already read about the Chinese economic problems. And yes, the economy is slowing down. The numbers published in the last few days also were not very good. But we have to be clear, and that's what I said at the beginning. Who are we talking about? So who are the people who can afford long distance trip? So I'm not talking about the people in Guangdong who can for 10 euros or $10 they can buy a train ticket to go to Hong Kong. Obviously there are 150 or 200 million people living close to the borders, but for long distance trips, for coming to one of our countries we are talking about today. So this is a recent publication from a Chinese professor who is known for being rather open-minded and rather critical and daring to speak some truths which maybe the government is not so happy about to hear. But you can see that from this calculation that there are less than 5 million people who actually own 67%, 2/3 of all the private wealth in China. And their per capita wealth on average is 8 million euros. So these are the 5 million high net worth individuals, the really rich people in China. And underneath that, you have another 100 million people or so, making up 7% of the population. And they earn they own a quarter of the wealth, 26%, with an average wealth per capita at 1.1 million. And then you have the rest, which is 93% of the people, and they just own 7% of private wealth. So clearly, for us, when we talk about the Chinese outbound tourists, we have to realize we talk about 105 or so million Chinese people, and they are the rich people, and this is what we are talking about. So if you hear about averages or that the average income of the Chinese have not been growing or anything like that, never mind. So we wish all the best to the 1.3 billion common people, what they try to call Lao Bai Xing, the old 100 names. But for us as customers, we have never the money to buy air tickets to come to Cairo or to beautiful Amman. So I also put here, this is a source from USA, actually it's the Boston Consulting Group, and they have been pushing always this idea, there is a big middle class in China, there are 400 million middle class people, and forget it, even if you take their numbers, and then you arrive at 150 million people, but you can see already in their higher middle income class, you have people who have a annual income of $10,000. So if you have $1,000 a month, how do you pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a trip to Egypt or to Jordan or to some other place in the region? So therefore, even including this, you are still at 10% of the population, not more than that. And so also, of course, Chinese tourists don't spend the travel money based on their income. They spend it on their wealth, on the money they earned in the last 20 years with real estate and with stock market deals. So if you see something like this, well, that has nothing to do with the truth in China. So for this 100 million people, they still have enough money to travel. They might not have the inclination to buy another Maserati so fast, but for a trip to Europe, there's still enough money. Of course, China also has, like everybody in the world now, a climate problem. So as we are speaking, China had the biggest heat waves and droughts and floodings all at the same time. So, and it is clear that also now in China, people are realizing and are getting sensitive to the fact that climate is not climate change, it's climate catastrophe, and worse is unfortunately to come. And also another problem for China is that it's getting old before it's getting rich. So we see now that China has stopped the one-child policy and now is actually pushing families to have 3 children. But there are many women who, when they get married, they don't want to have kids, or many successful young women in China, they don't even want to get married. They want to be independent. So as a result, you can see that looking forward to the next 50 years, China as the red line will become growing very fast, becoming much more dependent, that you have less young people having to take care of more old people, and China will be, after South Korea and Japan, number 3 within the big countries in the world. Whereas you can see for India, this line is much slower. So therefore, that is one of the reasons many people say why India will be more successful than China in the future. However, that means for the top 100 million Chinese people, they still will be able to afford long distance travel. But already we can see from the results from the first half year of 2023 that they are more careful with the money, and they're more looking for value for money. So what do I get for my money than before? And importantly, less Chinese people than before will be able to climb the social ladder to the point that they, instead of just going to Vietnam or to South Korea, they can afford coming to the Middle East, the Arab world, to Europe. So we will have more experienced travelers and less first-time travelers, again, meaning more self-organized or half self-organized travelers and less package tour people running behind the tour guide. So we see new source market segments developing. So we have immigrants from China. So there are many well-educated people simply moving away from China. You have Chinese seeking cooler destinations and seasons of the year. You have dinkies, double income, no kids. And you have more older people interested in culture and health. For destinations, that clearly means concentration on quality, not quantity. And it means what we just talking about, the need for a deeper understanding of the different market segments, getting used to the fact that the time of the big tech package stores is over, and that you need to have new distribution and communication channels. So at a conference, the boss of TUNR said that Chinese tourism is 3 steps. It used to be big groups and coach buses, and it was smaller groups. And now we are at the point where travel decisions are made on special interest, not on destinations. So somebody say, I want to play golf. Where are the nice golf courses? Not so much, I go to Jordan, what can I do there? And Mr. Go, who is the president of TUNR, said in a nice sentence, we had 1,000 travelers visiting one destination. Now we have 1,000 travelers visiting 1,000 destinations, which of course is good news for the 999 who have not been the one place everybody has been going to before. So this is also an interview we had in COTMI in our first edition, actually. So there are new opportunities. You have more independent travelers. You still have these rich people, and that is already what was shown in the first half year, now spending more money than before if they think it's worthwhile doing so. You have more interest in adventure and nature, more interest to go to new destinations, to meet local people, to have authentic experiences. So I think we are already short of time and we want to talk. So I will skip to this market segments very quickly. So clearly, well, we have been talking about this. So this is, I think, a useful list to say that the different generations, Gen Z, Generation Y, X, and the baby boomers, that they have, so white is average, green is above average, and orange is below average, so that you can see for questions like, I want to be recognized by others, that's very important for the young people. It doesn't matter for the old people, and it's in the middle for the people in the middle. Whereas, for instance, so I want the best value for money. Again, the young people say that. Generation X, so people in their 40s, they don't care. And both the baby boomers and Generation Y are saying this is very important for me. So that is the answer to what do the Chinese tourists want? The answer is the Chinese tourists do not exist. So you have different people, and depends on if you say, oh, I want to do stuff for young people. I have adventure tours in the desert or whatever. Or if you say, okay, I talk to the baby boomers, you can see that they have. Let me see. There is there's only one thing where the baby boomers and Gen Z are the same, and this is I follow and discuss current events. No, I don't. So other than that, it's all different between the people my age and the people in their 20s. So that is what, when you say, okay, our customers are rather here or they are rather here, then you will have to develop very different things. So, and of course, just one example, I've been asked a million times in the last 20 years, do Chinese tourists always want to eat Chinese food? And the answer is, of course, depends who you're talking about. So if you have a first-time visitor from a smaller city, they might be afraid of food because they think their stomach cannot take it, or they want to go to a Chinese restaurant because it feels home from home. So they will be insisting on Chinese food. Even most Chinese restaurants outside of China are really bad. For younger people, for more experienced people, for people who studied abroad, they will say, no, my God, I don't want to eat Chinese food. I want to eat local food. That's a very important part of the culture. I'm a foodie. That is what I want to put on WeChat to show my friends what is local food. I even want to learn how to cook local food. Maybe with Chinese breakfast, some people say, I don't like Western breakfast. Chinese breakfast is better once in a while. But other than that, they don't want to be seen by their friends entering a Chinese restaurant when they're abroad. So the answer is yes, you can find Chinese people who say, I want to eat Chinese food 3 times a day. And you will find Chinese people who are insulted if you offer them Chinese food. It just depends on what kind of people you are talking about. So, yeah, so, and of course, then you have different market segments, and we will put all this online. So you will be able to read all this afterwards. We will put on YouTube, and we are happy to send you the link. So you have the more experienced travelers, you have students. Don't forget, there are students and there are also expats living already outside of China. And this is a often overlooked market segment to take care of. And we have what is called semi-organized travelers. So this is from a study we did together with Trip.com. So that you have now a lot of people, what called customized travel, who go to a tour operator, but they tell the tour operator or the OTA, okay, we are 6 people, we will have this interest, this money, how much time we have, you make us a nice schedule according to our specific wishes. And you have the best agers, so the older people, which in China is about 55 years. And many of these people couldn't study. There were not so many places at university when they were young. They have some money, but now they want to learn something. They want to see the world. They want to learn about culture more deeply. And also they have more time than the other people. And this is, as the overall population of China is decreasing by 10,000 people per day, the percentage of older people accordingly is increasing. So if you, so they are the best choice you have to put people in off seasons and in places off the beaten track. If you have some attractive offer for them, they will come and they might even stay for 2 or 3 weeks. So final part, and I think this is probably for the practical things, the most important part. So what to do? And of course, so I looked up some quotes from, this is all from this year. So some gentleman who runs a restaurant told people that the Chinese people love Egyptian traditions and they prefer traditional Egyptian food. We pray that they will come soon back. And a Chinese tourist who came to Egypt in February said, I choose Egypt for my first trip as Egypt, like China, is one of the 4 ancient civilizations, and I want to experience the culture of Egypt. So again, the idea that Egypt is rather a brother than to China than a little child like the Americans are to the Chinese. And also one of the bosses of COTS, China Youth Travel Service, also said that for 2023, you have also, beside Iran, South Africa, and Kenya, you have also Egypt and the UAE as hot destinations because people are looking for uncommon destinations, and because many of the tourists are traveling abroad this year are experienced travelers. So that is so some taste of what is the current discussion. And this is an overview, of course, the steps you go down the chain, what you have to do, and let's move from one to the other. So first one, deep understanding of the Chinese source market segments. And you have in the region positive brand elements. So there is a Chinese respect for antiquity, for everything which is 1,000 years old. You have a diversity, and I have been lucky enough to travel in the region to see myself how diverse this is from the geography, from the history, from the different cultures. It is one of the new destinations to be discovered. The hurdle to overcome is clearly that there's still a lot of anxiety about safety and security. There are some issues in some places about how much restrictions are there for the abilities to move around of women, which is probably when we talk about Egypt and Jordan, not such a big topic. And there are sometimes complaints that there are gaps in quality service chains, that not all steps are of high quality. So following this understanding to say, okay, what is the best fit between what we have, what is our image, and what people are looking at? And of course, you need to do more research on this, but I would say from the knowledge I have, you have these 4 main groups. You have experienced travelers looking to discover new places, so going to special places. So the argument is not many other tourists, not many other Chinese tourists have been to this place or have done that. That's something exclusive. So that is also something maybe rather more expensive. The young adventurers, people looking for outdoor activities connected to the region, including such things like stargazing in the desert in the night. Then you have the best agers, rather interested in history, culture, who may stay longer and who don't have to follow the main seasons. And then we have special interest seekers, so groups looking for their hobbies, and that can be a lot of different things. And the last point I put here is faith-based travel. So of course Islam, but also in the case of Jordan, especially Christianity, which of course, as we all aware, is a sensitive topic in China because of the Uyghur question. But as long as this is packaged as culture and not as religion, it works. So Israel is very successful in selling Christian culture, places like Bethlehem. And of course you can sell the place where John the Baptist baptized Jesus in Jordan as a place which is important for Christian culture. And don't forget, there are double the number of Christians in China than there are in Germany. We have about 40 million Christians in Germany. We have 80 million Christians in China. So this is 5% of the society, and more likely that the rich people are among this group. So product adaptation, of course, and this is a sentence I'm using often: the worm has to be tasty to the fish, not the fisherman. It doesn't matter what you want, what you like. It matters what they want and what they like. And one thing is, which is for almost everybody coming from China, maybe except the older people now, is they don't have much time. They are working a lot. They don't have a lot of paid holidays. So they want to do a lot of things. And if they want to have an experience, they want to have it in a short time. So they will not say, okay, I spent 1 week learning how to ride a camel. I want to have 2 hours how to learn how to ride a camel. Of course, you can't learn it in 2 hours, but it's good enough for the photo. And if you give them a certificate that now they are a camel rider, so they will be happy. They have all the pictures and the experience. And so that's why documentation of the experience very important. So Chinese tourists, most Chinese tourists travel to show to their friends what they have done. They have done something special, something exceptional, something spectacular. But also many Chinese people say, well, in the past we were traveling, we were just taking photos of people, but now we are getting more and more interest, and we have, again, language barriers not so big anymore. We want to meet people, especially if these are people with joint interest. I'm happy to meet them. So if you have a jazz musician in Cairo, there are a lot of people in China with money who are interested in jazz, and they will be happy to meet some jazz musicians or other musicians in the region. So, and if it's one important thing to understand is, if it comes to children, Chinese children are not supposed to have fun. So the argument is not they will be happy. The point is Chinese children have to learn. So you have to tell this is something where the kids can learn something. And then you can ask any price for that. So to do all this, you need empowerment of the industry. You need training for the service providers. So if you allow me to present, so that's one of the reasons we started the weekly periodical by Ashraf and myself and some other colleagues are doing this every week to give you ongoing stream of analysis. And also, while we have at the bottom, you can see this red thing, we have online and offline trainings for service providers, both on a management level for the people deciding on marketing and so on, but also on the front staff level for those people who actually are confronted with Chinese tourists. And at the beginning, it was mentioned private-public partnerships. So the private sector working together and being supported by the public sector, that is certainly very important. I put here on local and national levels, and actually I didn't dare to put on international levels because I don't know if that is how easy or difficult that is in the region. Of course, as it has been said, if several countries can work together, that's even better. So development of communication distribution channels. So these are the three main fairs we have in China. GITF just happened in Guangzhou for the south of China, ITB China in Shanghai in September, the next one for the east of China, and China Outbound Travel and Tourism Market, COTTM, in November this year in Beijing for the north of China. So it still makes sense to show that you're interested in China by participating in these fairs, but it's not by itself something which will bring you businesses. Can be one element within a marketing plan, but not alone. Very important point is, so many people burn a lot of money on social media marketing, creating wonderful videos showing how wonderful their places are in Chinese translation and so on. If you look at the numbers, there's a company in Beijing we work with, Dragon Trail. They publish every week how many people have been looking at these videos, at this information on social media, and you have 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 people, which for China is nothing. So if social media are important, Little Red Book, Xiaohongshu, or Douyin or TikTok, but it has to be user-generated content. Chinese customers telling other Chinese about their experience. That is what people are interested in. Everything else is seen as propaganda and not believed and not taken seriously. So recommendation marketing is the #1 communication channel that you help your customers that they can show their friends back home how wonderful this is. And this is sometimes called KOC, key the key customers, so key influencing customers, and not KOLs, where you pay somebody $50,000 for saying I love Cairo, when everybody knows this guy is saying that because he has been paid for that. So rather have your customers. They might have only 1,000 people in their WeChat group, but these will be probably people, A, who also have the money to travel, and B, believe what your customer is saying, because, well, she will not do this if she is not really happy. So rather than putting your money into social media marketing, rather put it in the quality of your product. That will be much more successful. And we talked about special interest groups. So if you have people who are interested in history, well, you have hundreds of thousands of people studying history in Chinese universities or teaching history in Chinese schools. So you can, and they all are organized in organizations and associations. So you can contact them directly and say, hey, we have a special trip for Chinese history students or architecture students for that matter, and we can organize this with you. And of course, you will need a Chinese tour operator to help with the organization, but that basically you establish this direct channels, and normally these are huge organizations, so these departments will have several thousand students, or the Chinese Architects Association is probably several 100,000 people. So that is something, don't be afraid of niches. In China, niches are huge. And finally, measurement of success, last point. So it's not enough to be happy about arrival numbers. That is a nice press release for the ministry, but actually, if you want to be successful, you have to measure quality, benefits, satisfaction for all stakeholders. And we developed something called meaningful tourism, where we say there are 6 stakeholders: guest, host community, employees, companies, government, and last but not least, the environment. And if all 6 are benefiting from tourism, then the tourism is organized in the right way. So the outlook is people will continue to travel. Arab countries have a good situation that people looking for new places. They don't want to go up the Eiffel Tower again. But you will have to do some homework. You will have to adapt the products, and you will have to move your head from 45 Chinese sitting in a bus to 6 Chinese 25-year-old ladies traveling together as a small group. So Chinese people will still want to see the world with their own eyes, and they still want to gain social prestige. So bragging is still important, but as we said, what has changed is that there's more, nature is more important, health is more important, getting in contact with people is more important. So I think I will skip that. So summing up, there are 2 ways of development. And one way has been, before the pandemic, many countries did this. Thailand is the #1 exhibit, where you compete on quantity and you have a downward spiral. So you have lots of people coming, but you compete on price. And we all know that Chinese are very good at haggling. I know you're good as well, but they are also a force to reckon with. So in the end, you have a lot of money rushing around, but there's a very low margin. And you get visitors who go there because it's cheap, or relatively cheap. So they are not really interested in the local culture. Accordingly, they don't take care of the nature. Accordingly, the investors coming from China also will concentrate on quantity. I've just came back from Nepal. In Nepal, in Kathmandu, you can clearly see how the Chinese investors have really brought down the quality of tourism services there. So your brand image will be damaged, and you will not get the rich Chinese travelers because they think, oh, this is where my cleaning woman is going. I don't want to go there. Or you have an upward spiral when concentrating on qualitative growth and special interest offers, where you have maybe a slow growth of arrival numbers, but people stay longer, spend more money, you have a better margin, and you get people who are really interested in what you have to offer, which means providing more income for local communities because they will more go into the field, into where the people are. It will enhance your brand image. They will say, it was wonderful, it was better than I expected. So you will also get prestige, which means that the rich, including some of this 5 million HNWIs, will come to your place. That's it. Thank you very much. And of course, I'm very keen to hear what is your take on all this. Ashraf.
شكرا يا دكتور وولفنج. اعتقد المحاضره كانت قيمه فعلا، فيها معلومات جديده بالنسبه لي على الاقل كصحفي متخصص. واعتقد ان في تساؤلات رد عليها الدكتور وولفنج لكثير من الاخوه اللي معانا في الويبنار. يا ريت لو في اسئله متخصصه تسالوا على طول الدكتور وولفنج بدون دخولي انا في الموضوع. يعني اعتقد ان يعني معرفش الاستاذ طلعت عايز يسال عن حاجه ولا ايه. شكله قاعد متحفز. يعني هي الندوة كانت طويلة شوية أكثر من 45 دقيقة، بس كلها معلومات الحقيقة يعني. اتفضل يا أستاذ طلعت.
أشرف باشا، سامعني كده؟
أيوة يا فندم سامعك.
والله هو في سؤال الأستاذ عمرو القاضي إذا كان موجود، ما أعرفش ما زال موجود معانا ولا لا؟
موجود يا فندم.
موجود يا فندم.
هو في شروط معينة أو كريتيريا معينة لشركات السياحة تتعامل مع السوق الصيني في مصر؟ شركات مصرية يعني.
يا ريت يا هلا
من قبل الهيئة.
تترجمي للخواجة للدكتور وولفنج.
سوري.
Okay, Ashraf asked me to translate this, and the gentleman is asking the ETF chairman whether there are specific regulations that the travel agencies should follow in order to work with the Chinese market.
Yes, I'm going to respond to this in English instead of translating, if this is okay with everyone. Yes, the Chinese government asks officially for any company that wants to work with the Chinese market to register through the Egyptian Tourism Authority. So what happens is travel agents come to us with their documentations and the papers, and we send it to the Chinese government for registration. That's in brief.
Yes. So of course you're right. So this is a program which was invented back in 1997, which is called ADS, Approved Destination System. And in this system, the idea is that Chinese tour operators, of course, they have to register as a company, of course, like everybody, but that they need the agreement from the Chinese government to be allowed to sell trips to a specific destination, let's say Egypt. So that is true. The point is that this is something OTAs, which are now the biggest source of customers, are not following, because they are not tour operators. They are just providing the services which are asked by the customers. So therefore, if you have traditional tour operator operation communication and business, that is true. You need that. For the majority of the market, that doesn't have any importance anymore, because the majority of the travelers, they go to booking.com and to an airline website, and they buy their own tickets, and they don't use the tour operator anymore, and then it doesn't matter. So yes, it is true that, but it is in many destinations has really no importance anymore. So I saw some numbers before the pandemic for some countries where the ADS groups were below 10%. So that so this ADS system is still existing, and of course, if you have government groups, for instance, people visiting a fair, so a business delegation where this is paid by the government or by a state-owned enterprise, then a ADS system is still important.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
الأستاذ محمد عثمان بنرحب بيه وبنقول له الحمد لله على السلامة، والله يكون في عونك في الصعيد الملتهب، ودرجة الحرارة هناك يعني ما حدش يحسدك يعني. تقدر يعني أستاذ محمد عثمان، يا ريت يعني تعرف نفس حضرتك، وتشوف كنا بنتكلم عن الحركة السياحة الصينية وخلال الفترة اللي جاية دي الصغيرة دي، وأمل الأقصر في مزيد من الحركة. ممكن يعني تعرف حضرتك للدكتور وتسأله لو في حاجة معينة.
Okay, I would like just to welcome everybody. My name is Mohammed Osman. I'm the chairman of Culture Tourism Promotion Committee in Upper Egypt. And I'm very glad to attend this very valuable meeting. In fact, I'm here just to listen, and I'm very glad. But I just like to say something. I was lucky to attend the first meeting when the president of China came to Luxor, because I just like to say that tourism is not far away from policy. And when the president, our president, invited the president of China to hear, the number of the people we receive in Luxor was not more than 80,000 clients every year. Before the Corona, we touched the number of almost like 400,000, which means that we have a good share of this market. Not yet, because normally we say the number of the people who come out of China every year under the umbrella of traveling is 175 million. I don't know if this number is correct, but we like to have.
So our number is 170. Yeah, but so it's in this region. Yes,
170. So our plan was, before the Corona, COVID-19 was planned to have 1% of this number to China, from the China market. Especially that we noticed something I like just to say it quickly. Number one, we had all the time this wrong information that the Chinese market is only not a rich client. I mean, they're coming for 4-3 stars hotels, but this is completely wrong. The last 2-3 years, and I am very glad to work with Mr. Tamer, that our clients all the time use the deluxe 5-star hotels, and they use every step, which means they pay a lot of money for the tickets. This is number one. Number two, I would like just to announce that the food culture is something very important in this. If any travel agent like to work, I think one of the main things which they have, we have to put it in our mind if we like to jump to this market, is the food culture, because the food is part of the culture of traveling in for the Chinese market. Number three, we did a lot of notes, and I think the government accepted to put all the translation with the Chinese language and for all the temples and tombs. Now, if you go to the Valley of the King, Valley of the Queens, starting all the sites, starting from October, you will find a Chinese translation, or main translation on Chinese. We did also this with the streets of Luxor. We had also agreement with His Excellency, the Governor of Luxor, to put also some remarks about the streets, the name of the streets, the direction with the Chinese language, I like also to say thank you for the Chinese market, because one day when Egypt has been punished by a certain market, I don't like to say the name, and the clients of this market disappear, the Chinese market was there to support the culture travel. Again, I think we did not have enough chance to put our right hands on this market. I respect very much what the Ministry of Tourism did, and Dr. Al-Adi knows this, that they did a very valuable study for the first time, not to talk or to calculate the number of the people who like to come, but I mean, not the people who have a reservation to come to Egypt, but also they did a very nice study, which I think it's very, very important, and it should be for all the markets, for the people who have the wish for the next 4 years to come to Egypt. And I still remember the number, if Dr. Al-Adi can correct me, that there is 17 million Chinese, Egypt and their own agenda to come to there. Yes. So Egypt is a very nice market. We are waiting, because I'm working from Luxor mainly. I think the flights and the planes and the airlines is one of the main problem. It will be solved soon. But again, I think that the Chinese market can play a very important part in culture tourism, especially that all the restaurants now have a menu in Chinese language. We have not enough, but we have a good number of Chinese guides. And I think Chinese market can be a very good support for our industry. Thank you.
استاذ محمد كنت بتناقش الظهر مع الدكتور وولف، وكان بيقول لي ان ستيل حتى الان بيقول لي تصور ان كثير من الصينيين عندهم هواجس امنيه بالنسبه لمصر. ايه مدى صحه الكلام ده؟ فانا يا ريت حضرتك ترد.
No. I like just to answer this because I live in Luxor and I live in the west bank of Luxor in the mountain near to the Valley of the King. And I just like to say to the doctor, the number of the foreigners who live in our area is 1,700 families. They live in West Bank. They use motorbicycles or bicycles at midnight. Luxor and Egypt is more safe than New York. More safe than Berlin, more safe than a lot of places. Yeah, this is true. I can send you a video had been sent to us about how is Madrid and Barcelona. So Egypt is very safe, and also, especially Luxor, Aswan, people are very, very friendly. And I would just like to remind all of my friends that even in the time of the revolution, when there was almost a police at all, there is no hotels had been attacked, no one clients had been attacked, no boats, nothing had happened to our clients. So Egypt is very safe. I just like to invite all of you to come to see how the people walk in the middle of at 10 o'clock in the mountain of the West Bank, very safe, not only in Luxor, but also in the West Bank. No, Luxor is very safe. Tell me the number of the things which had been bad happen. It's 0 in 2020, 2022 and 2023 till now. Thanks God.
تامر موافق على الكلام ده يا تامر، وعلى الهواجس بتاعه الاخوه الصينيين فيما يتعلق بالامن، يعني باستثناء مصر. لا، الدول العربيه كلها عندهم كويسه وسيف، لكن مصر يعني زي ما قال الدكتور بتنتابهم بعض الهواجس. هل ده نتيجه للتاثير الاعلامي او نتيجه محتاج حمله اعلاميه توعيه داخل السوق الصيني؟ طبعا معانا الدكتور عمرو القاضي يرد علينا، بس اول اسمع من تامر بيه طبعا اللي هو جوه في السوق الصيني.
First, just a moment, I will open the... Yeah. You hear me, yes? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Wolfgang, for the information that is, in my opinion, very in deep of the market. I agree with you 95% on all what you said. The only thing I don't agree with is that to compare the figures this year with the pre-COVID figures, because till now the air transport is not back to normal. For example, between China and Egypt, there were more than 150 flights a month. Now, not at all. Even the international airlines like Emirates, Etihad, Qatar Airways, Turkish, all the airlines that we were using to transport the Chinese tourists from China, different points to Egypt, they are not back to normal. For example, Emirates had 2 flights a day from Shanghai, 1 flight a day or 2 on some days from Beijing, and 1 from daily from Guangzhou. Now they only have 1 flight daily from Shanghai, and Beijing is 2 times per week, and even Guangzhou is daily only. So the air transport is not back to normal figures before COVID, so we cannot compare the numbers.
Yeah, no, Mr. Ayub, I fully agree. We fully agree on that. There's no disagreement. And maybe I was not clear. Of course, the lack of enough air tickets in quantity and also in the pricing is one of the reasons why why the recovery of the market has not been so fast as people expected. I was speaking with some Turkish airline people just a few days ago, and of course they all say the same thing, that it takes time to bring this back. So we had some airlines I know from Lufthansa very well, for instance, they kicked out too many pilots, so they have a shortage of pilots now, and they have to retrain pilots, which takes time. So yes, at the moment, I fully agree with you. At the moment, if we would have no visa problem, and if you would have no air connection problem, we would see not 1/3, but we would see already 70%, 80% of the situation of 2019. So that is
exactly
clear. So you can see, for instance, we work with Trip.com, and they have published numbers, how many searches have been done, how many people are looking online on trips, and they say the searches are more than 2019 level. So more people are looking, and especially now, because more people are looking at unusual places, at new places where they need more information about. No, this is absolute. I'm absolutely with you that what we see is a pent-up demand, which is not realized because people can't enter many countries. As I said, for many Western European countries, they are told come back in half a year, so for your visa. And also that the airlines have been caught by surprise that China was opening up.
Yes, they were not. Yes.
And sorry, one more point. Of course, we also have to mention is that the Western airlines cannot use Russian airspace. That is another problem.
This is another story. And over and above, yes, the demand is higher, but the problem is that the tickets, due to the number of seats, is still limited, and it will not come back to normal before March next year. The prices are higher, so the actual on the ground of achievement of tourist numbers are much lower than it should be. Second, I agree with you 100% on the change of demand from the Chinese tourist part, because when we started, I worked this market in Sol Milia when I was working in Spain and in Turkey. Then I worked this market in South Africa with Sun International, and then in Egypt since I came back and worked it along with my friend Mu'taz, who is laughing for sure now. But this market is very demanding. The value for money is very important. This is why we all in the region are doing wrong. We all in the region are concentrating from this market, which is a cultural market to start with. It's not a beach market for us. It's a long haul. We should concentrate more on high spending clients, not on the number of tourists. Now, with one group to any chain, Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, whatever, of a small group of 6 to 8 people, you get more than what you get as revenue, and accordingly with GOP from 20 groups of the lousy 4 stars they are selling in China. I'm speaking not only about Egypt, I'm speaking about all the region. We have a company in Dubai, one client going to Burj Al Arab or to any of the deluxe hotels is giving you like 20 files of 30 people of the normal tourists going to apart hotels of 3 stars. This is why we stopped all this kind of tourism in 2019 before the pandemic. We stopped totally all kind of tourism that is not worth it, because you spend efforts, you spend time, you spend money, and the return is a big zero. What we should all do is to follow the steps of my friend Mu'taz of Trafco, and in Egypt, in Dubai, in Jordan, they are everywhere, in Oman, and start getting the good ones. Why to invent the wheels? The wheel again. You should not invent the wheel. The wheel is there. Out of the 1 of the 1 billion, 1.4, 1.5 billion Chinese, all we need is the 100 millions that have money. We don't have to go to the 1.5 billion. We have to attack, and our target should be only the 100 millions who have money.
Yes, I fully agree. But of course, and they will be happy to come if they know there's good quality and good service. They will also spend the money because they have.
This is the people who originally go to Europe. Okay, these are not the people who go to Thailand, who go to. These are not our target. These are not, our target is not the zero invoice of South Africa because they come to buy diamonds. We don't have diamonds in all the region, so this should not be our target. Our target should not be the shopping groups of Australia that is zero invoiced also. Our target should be the 100 million of Chinese who have money and can go long hauls and can spend money. The ones that are queuing in Louis Vuitton on the Champs-Élysées all the day to have just a new pouch or a new whatever. This should be our target. Of course, we don't have a Louis Vuitton, but we have other things much more expensive, which is the richness in culture, in history. And by the way, the Chinese tourist who comes to the region, he comes for the culture, not to buy a Louis Vuitton.
Yes, and the point is, so I didn't talk much about shopping, there was not enough time, but clearly you can see now during the pandemic, most of the luxury brands opened up more boutiques in Hainan. There's duty-free shopping now in Hainan. So they now the rich Chinese people, they want to buy authentic things.
Dr. Wolfgang,
they want to buy things they can only buy with you. They don't want to buy things
the first class cities. The first class cities in China, you know, like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, they have 20 Louis Vuittons. They don't have one. Okay, they have 20 Dior. They have everything. So this is not the, maybe in Europe it's cheaper because of the VAT refund, because in China it's 20% more expensive than Europe. But at the end of the day, this is not the aim of the trip. If they go to Champs-Élysées and queue, or in Corte Inglés in Spain and queue on the shop of Louis Vuitton, this is because they want to say to their friends that we got this from Madrid or from Paris from. This is not because they want the bag. They have it already.
Yes,
in 20 shops in each city.
But and you can see now during the pandemic there has been a big wave of very good new Chinese brands. So and actually some of these ladies who have been buying Louis Vuitton, now they say, no, I buy some good Chinese brand, which is also prestigious.
Which is more expensive. More expensive than Louis Vuitton. Huh?
Yes. So I can tell you, when I was in China in the 1980s, long ago, for a banquet, at the beginning, they would put Marlboro cigarettes on every seat. You would have a box of Marlboro cigarettes, because that's were the most expensive cigarettes. And to honor the guest you would get. And then somebody came up with a clever idea to make 555, the Chinese cigarettes, more expensive than Marlboro. And then you will get 555.
It's $100 a packet if you want the Chu Huang cigarette, the Shanghai one.
Yes.
It's $100 a packet.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
take it.
And this has happened now with the luxury brands. Yeah, with the luxury brands has now had the same thing has happened.
محتاجين ايه يا تامر علشان ناخد الحصه اللي انت بتقول عليها من الاثرياء بتوع الصين، واحنا معانا الدكتور عامر القاضي، ومن للاسف ما عرفتش اجيب حد من مصر الطيران، الوقت ما اسعفنيش. محتاجين ايه علشان نجيب اللي احنا عايزينه ده في تقدير؟
محتاجين نعمل دعايه كويسه. اوريدي الهيئه دكتور عمرو كان عامل
الدكتور، خلينا بالانجلش.
Okay, already the Egyptian Tourist Promotion Board have already done this exercise. I think they are starting a lot of participation in the exhibition, a lot of much more sales blitzes, and this is the things we needed. from the part of the government, and they are supporting too much. Yani, Dr. Amr and all the team are really supporting us in all Asia, not only in China, but in all Asia. Egypt, there is another story, but this is a lost case. Yani, this is another story. We cannot. They don't have enough aircraft for long hauls, and it's another story. Egypt, there is another story. I think we should go to start again Hainan Airlines with the Chinese, like we did before the pandemic, or something like this. ولا إيه رأيك يا دكتور معتز؟
Honestly speaking, it's all about the private sector taking and bearing all the expenses of traveling to North America, Latin America, and
all the long hauls.
Yes, I guess private sector are investing a lot of money in penetrating new markets and opening markets on his own expenses. For sure, the outcome is very positive these days, and there is a lot of products regarding sustainability, regarding a lot of aspects in Egypt, much different than before. It's not only the classic holidays. There is events, there is a lot of topics that can address the Chinese market through synergy. I'm not sure that the exercise that synergy is doing is to the government, including China market. I'm not sure His Excellency Dr. Amr can elaborate more on this topic if China are one of the target markets in the synergy media plan or marketing plan.
Yes, of course. China is one of the main 12 source markets we're targeting. And we're putting actually, we're distributing our budget, our communication budget, in synergy with the size of the market itself and the number of tourists coming from each market. But for China, if for example, it would represent only 2% from our inbound travelers, our communication budget, China's share will be like 15%, because we are in an investment phase. So we're putting so much on China in terms of communication, B2C, I mean, communication. We are going down with the three main business and trade fairs in China, as indicated in the presentation, where we actually hosted the first Chinese-Egyptian workshop in Cairo, when I think it was in March or April. And we're working closely with the Chinese embassy in Egypt to develop more of workshops, of training courses, of business, B2B activities, either in China or in Egypt. So we're developing that. We're working on that. We're putting so much attention to China because we see the potential and the numbers. Yes, of course, we are looking for the higher income tourists, but again, the number of visitations from China is as important as the quality or the higher spending people. So to answer you, Mu'taz, yes, we're doing that. China is one of the 12 source markets. We're having our own social media platforms in Chinese, and I was just on another Zoom call with our PR agency, who will. This is apart from the advertising. On PR agency, they have an offices actually in Beijing and in Shanghai. So we're briefing them to start working on media relations with the local Chinese media outlets. So we're doing our job in terms of promoting Egypt in China for the rest of the year, and hopefully we get the results that we're looking for.
Mr. Amr, sorry that after the approval of Mr. Ashraf Gedawi, allow me to reply to His Excellency. Mr. Ram, do you think it is the right time to do a roadshow next winter, for example? Because as you know, after the COVID, so many people from China market disappeared. A lot of key players are not there anymore. Perhaps the only person who actually a regular visitor to China market is Tamer. I think he's the most frequent traveler in each China back and forth. I hope the outcome of all these expenses are paying off, but we need, as travel agencies, we need to be acquainted more of whom are the existing tour operator who send a lot of business not only to Egypt but to other countries. Perhaps we can come not to steal Tamer's business, but on the other hand to convince people who does not sell Egypt to sell it. So this is philosophy.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Mu'taz, I agree 100%, 100%.
Yes, we were actually looking for, and this is exactly what we're doing. We're studying carefully to have roadshows not only in China, in all of Central and East Asia, like in Japan, Korea, India, and China, of course. So, but it just, putting the right resources on the very, how can I say it, more cost-effective ways. So, in the coming 6 months, we have two travel fairs in China. So,
and one is Singapore.
Sorry?
Yes, I was very happy that we took space in ITB China and in COTTM. But I believe that it's as important as Mu'taz say is to do some roadshows as well, because it's not only Beijing and Shanghai, which the two fairs are in.
الفاينانس يا مستر تامر، الفاينانس والكوست.
الرود شو
الرود شو ده بيبقى
الرود شو ده بيبقى على حساب الشركات يا بيه
لما جاب الشركات الكبيره في مصر وجاب البنوك وخلاهم بالحب وبالمحبه يعملوا اول حمله دعائيه كبرى في مصر ايام الدكتور البلتاجي.
يعني الايام دي مش هترجع تاني يا اشرف بيه.
مش هندوس ما احنا مش هندوس على الحكومه، احنا عارفين زنقه الحكومه.
No. We have.
لا يا بيه، لا يا بيه.
لا. We have the plan. Tamer Bey, we have the plan. We have the plan to have a road show. We were just planning to have it on the side of one of the on the exhibitions. So, for example, if we're going to ITB, we will extend for another 5, 6, 7 days for the rest of the
I think it's better
country.
with the COTTM because the ITB is too soon in September. The COTTM is in November. I think it would be better if we combine it with the COTTM. Especially the Beijing is
your agenda, Tamer, or the country agenda? I think this is your personal agenda.
This is my personal agenda. انا مش عايز اقول لك انا بصرف كام في امريكا اللاتينيه، يعني اللهم على حسب على اللي انت بتعمله.
مستر تامر يعني if you will excuse me professor, لازم تعمل حاجه في معتز. انا عارف I admire the relation between both of you. You are both my favorite in this trade. So God bless you both. But you must do something tonight, a prayer, a candle, something that will protect you.
هكشف راسي وادعي عليه. هكشف راسي وادعي عليه.
No, we will always work with the chambers of hotels and chamber of agents to see what fits you all. So if we have an agreement for a roadshow in China at a specific time, we will do it. I have no problem with the finance, by the way.
It was never the problem, Your Excellency.
Finance was,
Dr. Nasser, I remember was there.
Even if it costs,
accommodation.
There's
no financial burdens.
Even if it will cost, I don't have a problem. There are specific markets that we're willing to invest a lot
Yeah, the ROI on long term is very important, and you are right,
Yes.
Mr. Amr. You are very right. I think maybe we can have another call for the rest of Asia, but for China, I think this is the two exhibitions are very good that the Egyptian Tourism Promotion Board participated, and I think if we combine also COTTM with a road show or a sales blitz or whatever, this will give very good impact, because now the problem is that the flights, as I said, are not enough. I think if we go in November, we will get for February and March the Chinese New Year business, and the flights will be already good, because in September it's too far from the peak. Yani October will not be working good, but already Egypt is full in October. So I think we should target the Chinese New Year.
Exactly.
Very good. Chinese New Year is 10th of February next year. So Chinese New Year starts February 10th.
Okay. Sorry, Professor, what's the 10th of February?
The Chinese New Year.
Ah, okay.
So that is that means the middle of February. This is a big holiday season for the Chinese people.
Does it change from year to year?
Yes. It changed from year to year, like Easter. It's according to the moon. It's according to the when the full moon after spring is, like Easter.
Lunar.
Yeah, because I recall 4 or 5 years ago, I was in Dubai during January, and I wanted to extend my stay. I was kicked out from the hotel where I was staying, and it's a renowned hotel, and I'm a big client there. But nevertheless, they kicked me out because of the Chinese New Year. So it was by the end of January. So
yes, so it can't.
I will never step in again.
It can. Yeah, I understand. No, it can be between the 21st of January and the 21st of February within this 1 month period. Okay. Depends on when the full moon is.
Okay.
I don't know if we have enough time, if you allow me. I want to go back to the publication. First, thank you very much, Professor, for a very informative presentation that has touched many a lot of information that I did not know personally, and my colleagues here are more professional travel experts than myself, and I would like therefore to leave this part, but I would like to concentrate on the publication contents to make it more lucrative for us out of everything I heard. For example, in one of the sample publication editions that I read that Moscow is filling up very quickly, the rooms with Chinese. Does this mean that their perception of security is different than what we discussed today? I don't need an answer now, but this is the type of perceptions that we would like to know here. How would they see that? How do they see security issues? Where is Egypt to them? Is it Middle East? Is it North Africa? Is it a cultural destinations, period? And also Mr. Sidki mentioned that they are sensitive to rumors. I know that Tamer knows it all very well, but this is the kind of information that we would like to know. Thank you for giving us information about the socioeconomic and the different tiers in the high end that we would like to have here. And we would like to listen more to how to do that in terms of upgrading the quality and upgrading at the meantime, and I'm talking here on behalf of the Federation, the education and training from your perspective, and maybe this would be in another conversation later, not to take your time. Is there a way that the Federation could enter into an agreement or a protocol with one of the schools for internship of Chinese students to come to Egypt, maybe for training? And this would be a win-win situation for both of us. You mentioned something about the messages. You mentioned that stressing on learning rather than fun is perceived more positively. So what would our messages be in general? You mentioned something about the windows for commercials and advertising, and the social media has to be tailored. The message has to be tailored. Any ideas? I mean, these are the kind of contents that I would like somebody like me that could provide this information to a decision maker in the private sector. Of course, the government has also their intelligence resources, and we do rely a lot on what Mr. Al-Adi provides us with, and the ministry. But how can we also assist on that? How long, for example, certain information, you mentioned something about they don't want to, or maybe this is the Z, the millennials or the Z generation. They wouldn't like to stay long. So what is the perfect average length of stay that we would form programs around? Do they get a lot of holidays? Are they like the Japanese? They hate holidays? To my knowledge, Japanese, they don't like to go on long holidays.
Correct.
Yeah, the last question here regarding the publication, and this is your call, definitely not my call, but if we will end up, definitely we are very much interested in it and looking into subscriptions. Does it have to be on weekly basis? And this is up to you, definitely not us to decide. Does it have to be? Is there a lot happening on weekly basis that requires a new edition? Or we can turn into monthly editions. For example, I mean, this is all yours. What are the training possibilities? Where can we cooperate on that for us to learn more about the culture? So basically, this is what I had here. And again, I would like to thank you very much for your presentation. This was very useful.
Thank you very much. And of course, I think I have some answers to all the questions you raised, and they're all very, very important questions. And so I'm sure we can do something. I mean, we have, as I mentioned, we have online trainings, but we also have offline trainings, and we have been doing a couple of times something where a one-day workshop where we have half a day of training. Something like what I did today, of course, more details, and then half a day of a workshop where we really a roundtable thing where all these questions, okay, how should we address this, and what is the then can be discussed for the specific destination in more detail. So this is something which I've done a couple of times, and of course I'm very happy to do this with you. Coming to Cairo for that, certainly, because this is exact. I mean, if I can tell you, the key point is you are asking the right questions, and this is the major step. Answers are easy, questions are difficult. So, and I think so. A lot of people in the tourism industry don't come to this point. They say, oh, I have 30 years experience. I do what I always did. Everybody is a human being. What are you talking about? And then you don't move forward. So you are asking exactly the right questions. And this is with the answers provided to that, then you can be successful. And I heard happily that also from the government side that this is supported. And therefore, that is certainly exactly what we have to do. And you have Ashraf on place, so so we can do this together, and so I'm really interested to see, and I think really Egypt as well as Jordan, but Egypt even more, has a really good chance to profit from the new situation, to profit from the new interest in doing something else and not only going to Paris for shopping. If the industry gets a deeper understanding of what other things are there, and how maybe you can even get people who have been one time to Egypt to come back a second time, then that is there's a really good opportunity. So yes, so please, I'm happy to be part of this, follow up with Ashraf on this, and certainly, and we have, and for the question of the publication, the frequency and stuff, yeah, this is also something, of course, we are still discussing. We started this 2 months ago, so there's still a phase of learning, and we will do it. There is a lot of things happening in Chinese outbound market, but maybe, yeah, maybe we do it something in between, maybe not monthly, not weekly, but maybe every 2 weeks, something like that. But that is certainly, it's interesting to hear your point on that. We will certainly include this in our discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
في حد يا جماعة في أسئلة، في استفسارات، في أي مؤاخذات، إيجابيات، سلبيات، ولا نقفل الندوة على كده؟
Actually, I wanted to thank Dr. Wolfgang for the insights, and there is a lot of topics needs to be addressed, and I believe that His Excellency Amr Al-Qadi, I guess we have, Egypt has a lot to offer rather than classic holidays that the China market are aware of, and this is the role of the travel agencies when attending the road shows, to present what Egypt has to offer in 2023 and Egypt Vision 2030, as we really hope that the new angles of marketing Egypt has to be fully aware in the China market through a Chinese people who act and present the same way, not someone who speaks Chinese from Egypt, but I believe someone qualified enough from China market to present what Egypt has to offer and Egypt Vision 2030.
جميل جميل.
Okay, thank you.
اوكي، احنا بصدد ان شاء الله هنعمل ندوه في النبي هلا ترجمي لي، هنعمل ندوه لمنطقه الخليج الجلف ان شاء الله في الاسبوع الاول من سبتمبر. هل احنا انترست ان احنا نشارك فيها، ولا نخليها مقصوره على اخواننا في الخليج؟ هلا راحت فين؟
الحقيقة يا أشرف مش عارفة، ده السؤال ده أفضل حد يرد عليه هو دكتور نادر الببلاوي، لأن قد يكون في possibility إن يتعمل joint programs طبعا مع الأردن ممكن، لكن إذا كانت برضو
كان المفروض يجوا النهارده بس حصل لهم ظروف يعني.
إذا كان الأجازة بتاعت الصينيين ما هياش طويلة بما يكفي، يعني عادة اللونج هول بنبص لإيه المناطق المجاورة بحيث إنه في الآخر يبقى فيه value for money، إن هو عمل برنامج شاف فيه كذا دولة. لكن الحقيقة إحنا عندنا البرودكتس كافية، وإذا كنا بنتكلم على إن هم بيجوا في فترات سريعة مش مطولة زي المعتاد أو اللي إحنا فاهمينه، وممكن تامر يصلح لنا المعلومة دي، يبقى معرفش يعني دي ترجع لدكتور نادر الحقيقة والأستاذ تامر أيوب، هم اللي يقدروا يقرروا كغرفة شركات، وطبعا قبلية وقبل أي حد عمرو بيه القاضي.
In brief to that, actually we're talking to other destinations around us, other markets, destinations, for joint marketing, and to have this kind of a regional product for the long haul travelers, specifically from the Far East and from Latin America. And we're in the serious discussions actually, and this will be just a framework for the travel agencies to work and to know exactly what can we as destinations, Egypt, Jordan, even Saudi Arabia, can work together for joint programs We will provide you with the policies, with the facilities, and we will get you on board all of, the travel agencies and the hotels, those stakeholders. We're in serious discussions. Once we reach something concrete, we will share it with everyone, of course. So I think there is a possibility, an opportunity. Professor just showed us in the presentation that UAE or Dubai received some 1 million Chinese. Most of them, I believe, are stopping over. So why not to use that for the best interest for the entire region? So we can have a regional product, either by transiting somewhere or by two countries. Like when you go to Europe, you go to Italy, Switzerland, and Austria, for example. So we're in serious discussions about this now. Well, I have to excuse myself now because I have to run from the new capital. Traveling for an hour for another function. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation, and I'll actually look forward more of that, more of the discussion, more of the learning between all the stakeholders and the partners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us and for your kind words. So, Ashraf, I think it's 6:30, so maybe we have to wrap up the meeting.
Yes.
And so also from my side, I'm really happy that I heard so many. And obviously, some colleagues who have a lot of experience already in the market and know where is the way. So, and as I said before, I think Egypt has a very good opportunity. If I, together with Ashraf, can be of any help, I'm certainly delighted to do so. And Ashraf, thank you again for taking the initiative to get all this started. And I'm sure that that is something which will continue.
But some lady now join us in the webinar, Dr. Nadia Helmi.
Yes.
Dr. Nadia.
Yes.
هل ليكي كلمة يا دكتورة نادية فيما يتعلق بالندوة؟
Hi everyone. I don't know if I can speak Arabic or English. Anyway, I am Nadia Helmi. I'm working as Associate Professor of Political Science, and I am an expert in Chinese and Asian studies. I am so happy to join you, especially I am an expert in Chinese politics, Chinese affairs. So I have wide experience in this regard. To my Egyptian colleagues here, I am so happy to meet you here. I'm not specialized in tourism sector, but I'd like to hear from you and to acquire from your long experience in that touristic sector. Thank you very much. Highly appreciate for joining you, and I'd like to invite more people to come to visit Egypt, especially in this wonderful days in the summer vacation. Thank you for everyone. Nadia.
Thank you, Nadia. And so
you.
by the webinar is just over, but we have the whole thing is recorded, and we will put the recording on YouTube, and I will send you the link for sure. And I've seen some of the work you are doing, and it's very, very interesting. So also I hope that we can have some more contact in the future.
Okay, thank you.
متشكرين يا جماعه. معالي الدكتور الوزير الدكتور عمرو القاضي متشكر جدا جدا جدا. الدكتور نادر الببلاوي متشكر على تعبك وجهدك اللي بذلته معايا. اخويا تامر واخويا معتز عبد الله وكل الاخوه المحترمين والدكتور وطبعا واستاذنا وكبرنا الاستاذ طلعت ذكري. انا بشكر الجميع الحقيقه، وطبعا اخويا ما انساش معتز بدل ما يعني يعمل حاجه مش لطيفه. انا بشكر الجميع لحضور هذه الندوه، ونتمنى ان احنا نلتقي في ندوات اخرى ان شاء الله.
شكرين جدا يا اشرف بيه، شكرا.
الله يخليك يا رب يكرمك.
شكرا يا اشرف بيه.
الله يخليك. محمد بيه عثمان، متشكر جدا يا محمد بيه.
شكرا يا فندم، شكرا يا فندم.
تحياتي يا فندم، الله يخليك.
شكرا يا اشرف بيه، اتفضل.
Okay.
Thank you, good, and have a safe evening, everybody, and a good evening. And thank you again, everybody, for participating. And so, as I said, we will put the recording on YouTube, and we will send you the link so you can also, if you want to see something again, you can have it. And also, if somebody wants to have the slides of my presentation, of course, I'm also happy to share the slides with you.
Inshallah. Helpful. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. So I will